Story 1. It's always bills or problems, but I miss being able to be relentlessly excited for anything. Just having anything to look forward to or be genuinely enthusiastic about. Story 2. The way things just happened for you because your parents planned it. Things like going to the beach or on a camping trip. I just got to show up and have a blast. Meanwhile, my parents had to pack everything and plan it all out. Get supplies, everything. I miss being carefree. Story 3. My parents. Lost both of them last year. I spent most of my childhood wondering how I would be able to survive without them as an adult. Now that I am an adult, I know how, but I really wish I had them. Story 4. I miss being an idiot and just doing things without a second thought. Just trying and seeing what happens. Not being scared of hurting my back or getting dirty clothes. Story 5. I miss how easy it was to be excited about the little things like staying up late for a movie or getting a new toy. Life felt more spontaneous and carefree. Story 6. Hanging out with my brothers playing games and video games. Biking around the neighborhood. Getting candy and Pokemon cards at 7-Eleven. Fun holiday projects and good holidays at home. I had a good childhood. Story 7. Running full speed everywhere. Jumping 3/4 my height playing volleyball. Riding my bike miles away when I was 9. Spending time with girls in friends' basements. Story 8. Pure sense of freedom from responsibility. Life felt a lot simpler when the biggest worries were what game to play after school or whether you would get extra dessert. Story 9. Feeling of freedom. No bills, no responsibility, no need to be productive. You just lived in the moment, whether you were playing outside all day or just relaxing with no agenda. Also, the feeling of boundless energy. I could run around for hours and never feel tired, and sleep felt like a recharge, not a necessity. Story 10. Spending the entire summer at my grandma's place. I used to wake up every morning to a delicious breakfast and then head out to play all day long, only to come back for lunch and go back to playing with my friends until around dinner time. Get back home to take a hot shower, have a simple, yet the tastiest dinner every single day, and watch cartoons until I fall asleep. No worry in the world, no track of day, date, or time. Just peace. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I just close my eyes and try to relive the summer. It makes me count my blessings that I was ever able to feel all of it. Story 11. I could have friends of both genders without people getting offended or assuming things, and we could spend time together without it being weird. No bills to pay. Always had a home regardless. Story 12. I miss not worrying about the big things like exams, work, and money, and I really miss how bright life was. Everything was so much more colorful as a kid, and we would never worry about how we look after a long day. Oh my gosh, the sleep would be the best too. I guess I miss everything about childhood. Story 13. My mom taking care of me, potentially facing my first encounter with the flu soon. I miss being little and her making sure everything is better. She's not dead. I just moved out. Story 14. Never worrying because my parents took care of everything. My only concerns were homework and chores. My younger sister looks to me for this kind of comfort too. When she's with me, she's oblivious. We're in our 50s, by the way. Story 15. I used to play tag on bicycles. I am currently 37 years old, and my dad is a computer genius and works in information technology, so we had computers, yes, more than one, and internet access in the 90s when not a lot of other people did. Still, I loved playing tag with the neighborhood kids on my bike. It sounds more dangerous and unusual than it actually was, and you couldn't get me to come inside, let alone desire to use the internet at that time anyway. Story 16. My grandmother being alive. I was abused and neglected by my mother as a child, so I just miss my grandmother. She was my sanctuary, my savior. She protected me from her daughter as much as she could. Rest in peace. Story 17. Knowing that the majority of the time strangers, despite their biases, prejudice, or other general discriminations, would tend to sweep those feelings aside if they saw a child in need. The best way to describe it is, if I see an adult spider, then I know I will get a little freaked, but if I see a baby spider, then my prejudice and fear subside enough for me to either leave it alone or save it. Story 18. Running wild in the summer in the 1980s. I would walk my little brother's 4 blocks to a park and spend hours there with no one bothering us, and we would see friends from school sometimes. When we were done with the park, we would go home and eat lunch, then go to the neighborhood cemetery and hang out. Story 19. Chasing girls on a Friday night after getting out of junior high, going home at night playing Nintendo games all night, drinking Pepsi, and eating Cool Ranch Doritos. Good times. Story 20. How easy it was to make genuine friends. You like Pokemon cards too? Cool, let's be friends. Then riding bikes and meeting said friends at an agreed-upon spot, since we didn't have social media or were old enough for cell phones. Sigh. Story 21. The flexibility and vitality, good balance, ease in movement, running, jumping, not being out of breath, etc. Now, things ache a little and are harder to do. Story 22. My dad cared about me and wanted me to be happy. Now he does not care. He calls me stupid and argues with me constantly. I cannot even go to family events without him insulting me now. All because I do not vote how he likes. He also called me a liar when I told him I was raped. So that is great. As a kid, I idolized my dad. He did everything with me, but I guess I am just a disappointment. Story 23. No responsibilities except the ones I wanted, like feeding the dog. My mom cooking dinner every night. Watching entertainment and sports programming network Friday night fights with my stepdad. Skating and riding bikes with my friends and building ramps. Story 24. Going outside and playing with the chalk at my grandma's or any other toy out of the box. Going down to the park during family days like Easter. Sitting at the dinner table at grandma's with your family and knowing full well the food would be good. I never touched the cranberry sauce, still don't. Heading to the park to watch the Polar Express in 3-dimensional on a large screen with a bit of the neighborhood. Story 25. The innocence and wonder when everything felt new and exciting. The first time you saw something amazing, the first time you tasted something new, the first time you figured out a problem. As a kid, everything was an adventure, and the world seemed a lot simpler. Story 26. Not really having obligations to do anything. Everyone is like, well, you're a kid, so you don't need to worry about it. Once you're an adult, everyone kind of expects you to do this or that thing. Story 27. My parents are fierce and active. They're still quite active for people in their mid to late 50s, but every time I FaceTime them now, they appear a little bit older, and it shatters me at times. Story 28. How better things like the internet and video games were. There wasn't as much political content on social media and influencers. TikTok was much better as musical.ly, focusing mainly on dancing and transition editing videos. Now there are political conflicts and ads everywhere. Video games overall had much better concepts, especially Roblox and Rainbow Six Siege. With all the updates that games have, it destroys their originality. Not only that, but many games now have turned into competitive games rather than games you can just relax with. Story 29. Having a yard big enough to have a motocross track that I could ride whenever I wanted, and access to equipment to make changes to the track whenever we wanted. And running big row crop farm equipment. Nothing makes you feel as productive as working a 50-foot wide chunk of field every pass. Story 30. It's very specific, but I miss going to sleep and my mom would sing me lullabies. I remember being in that situation between conscious and asleep, and she would rock me until I fell asleep again. It was just very comforting and warm. I slept so quickly. I would sleep like a princess if someone sang me to sleep these days. Story 31. Summer vacation with friends. Riding our bikes around the city, Friday night video games or movies, going to the beach. It didn't matter what we did as long as we were home by the time the streetlights came on. Story 32. Having all options available to you. Want to be an astronaut when you grow up? Great. Want to be a doctor when you grow up? Great. All things are possible, and my parents will live forever. What simple joy. Story 33. Watching bats fly and scream as pink 4 o'clock flowers open up at dusk on a Mediterranean summer evening. I feel like Kai in Anderson's The Snow Queen, playing by the beautiful roses without realizing they will be gone before he knows it. Story 34. The simplicity. The freedom. I had to stress about things kids shouldn't early on, but even so, it is so much harder now. because I have to be responsible and I have to do the adult thing. When I was a kid, sure, I stressed and worried about finances and such, but there was nothing I could do about it. It wasn't my responsibility to fix it. But now it is, and I've been struggling my whole adult life. Never been able to catch a break. Story 35. Illness recovery times. And not knowing how good you had it at the time. We used to come home from school and watch TV until our dinner was ready. Oh, the joy of sitting down to a meal that you had no part in preparing. You never even knew how good you had it. Story 36. Nothing. I dreamed of being a grown-up with a job, husband, kids, mortgage, and other heavy life responsibilities for as long as I can remember. I think experiencing childhood through my kids is 1,000 times better. Story 37. No worries in the world, watching TV, playing with toys, eating snacks, reading books, coloring books, being outside, being a kid to the max. Grateful to say our childhood was amazing. Story 38. Playing sports all the time. Sprinting full speed, playing basketball or football during several recesses a day. Being on a team and being coached. Doing new things like riding the school bus to play at a school I have never been to before. Getting excited to take the field or court or whatever. Story 39. Nothing. Everything was pretty terrible, and most people did not treat me well. Maybe I miss ages 5 and 6, but it wouldn't be worth going through everything after that. Life as an adult makes being a child look like being a prisoner, but I think it was just my experience. Story 40. Wish I could say lack of dread, but oddly enough at the age of 6 is when I started having thoughts like, why am I even alive? I don't want to be. Wish I was an inanimate object instead. And went down the existential dread rabbit hole at that point. But honestly, what I do miss about childhood was the carelessness I had back then and the time I had. Felt like I had time to do anything, get everything done. Not anymore. A week feels like a couple of hours now, and I can't even figure out what day it is most of the time. I miss the whole most things don't affect me mentality I used to have. I felt like I flew below everyone's radar, so anything that could possibly happen would have nothing to do with me and no effect. But as time goes on, somehow I'm more involved in things than I realize, and everything that goes on suddenly has an impact on me in some way, shape, or form, and most of it has not been good. This has been emphasized by the elections since 2020. Story 41. The overall lack of worry until I was 12 or 13 when I had an immediate family member become ill. Fandom as an early 2000s teen was weird and awesome. I had some fan sites, wrote and read fan fiction, lived for MySpace and obviously message boards. Internet in general if you scrub away the weird parts. Writing notes to friends in class. Friend drama. Honestly, the importance of teenage friendships. I barely have any close friends now besides like 3 to 5 people. Story 42. Having the ability to choose to do absolutely nothing during the summer, or choosing to do as little or as much as I want. Maybe stay inside and play video games all day, go outside and ride my bike, or play outside with friends until sunset. Story 43. Not knowing how horrible people could be. Not knowing the meaning of racism. My innocence. I lost it at 14. Was raped at 16, and now physically and emotionally abused by boyfriends. I hate my life. Story 44. When I was 12 or 13, a bus line opened up on the state road running past my neighborhood. That summer, I was taking it to the beach every day, enjoying the waves, meeting new people, just roaming Anna Maria with my friends. I dearly miss those times. Absolute freedom, no phones, no money, no worries. Story 45. The relative stability of my medical issues. I've been disabled since birth, and by the time I was 17, I had around 3 dozen surgeries. However, I was able to be more active, I was in significantly less pain, and in general, it felt like I had a life. I'll be 40 next year, and especially in the last 10 years or so, my life and world have gotten so much more limited because of my conditions. I seldom leave my apartment, and when I do, there are physical consequences that can last for days. Story 46. Christmas was magical. School was generally fun with those little holiday parties. Going to Walmart and looking in the toy aisle, Saturday morning cartoons, and coloring. My mom was proud of me, I didn't care about what I looked like or all the family drama going on around me. My parents felt like my heroes, like they had no flaws at all. I didn't dread going to sleep every night because I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I dreaded it because I didn't want to end a fun day. Story 47. Having goals to work towards and the overall energy of everyone working towards the same goal. Now it feels like trying to celebrate Thanksgiving with Christmas music blasting and Christmas decor everywhere. Story 48. Vacations. Summer, winter, spring break, even Thanksgiving was like a week or whatever. I get 15 days of annual leave in addition to national holidays. Kind of blows. Story 49. Playing games with no care in the world. I am currently listening to Black Ops Easter egg songs with my boyfriend, and it is bringing back so many memories. Story 50. Ignorance, innocence, naivety, dreams, and hopes of my future. When you are a kid, you have no idea how great it is to have loving parents, your own room, magical holidays. Just existing is effortless. You have wild dreams of being an astronaut and a famous singer in your free time. You dream of your wedding day and how you will be the best parent ever. Your whole life is ahead of you. Then you get older, and responsibilities take over. The magic is gone. Death comes more often, and you obtain your dreams and goals with none left to make. And then you just live your life making dinner, cleaning, checking off the adult list of to-dos until you die. Story 51. All of the movie channels and around the 2000s. At that time, the internet and phones were nothing, so we did have real quality time with others, including my childhood friends. But time flies, and so do these relationships. There are so many things that made me feel regret as an innocent girl.